Now, I'll introduce our first speaker, Ryan Zhu. A junior at Newark Academy, Ryan has a passion for STEM and medicine. He's a two-sport athlete in baseball and soccer, alongside whom I'm proud to have competed the past several years. His fascination with baseball goes beyond just playing. It fuels his interest in sports medicine, psychology, and economics. In his TED Talk, Ryan will share how data-driven recruiting in baseball challenges traditional thinking. Without further ado, please help me welcome Ryan to the stage.
First, can you guys all hear me? All right. Now, for a show of hands, who here enjoys sports, whether if it's playing or even just watching? Looks like a lot of us. Well, sports play a critical role in our lives today in so many different angles and forms. They have great cultural significance, they're critical to our economy, but most importantly, they develop character. Sports teach us to keep our heads down, to stay disciplined throughout, and overall, they help us to grow, to get comfortable with our uncomfortables. For me personally, sports have taught me countless of life lessons over the past 12 years, shaping my personality to who I am more than ever. Now, one of those life lessons came while still playing club baseball. In the summer of 2023, I was in one of my worst hitting slumps imaginable. No matter how hard I tried, every swing of mine was either a swing and a miss or a weak ground ball to the shortstop. And with the pressure of tournaments, as well as college recruitment just starting, I only felt more and more worthless to my team. Now, despite not being able to hit the ball well, I took a step back and decided to look at the things that I could do instead, by getting on base. By working walks and using my speed on the bases, I found ways to contribute to my team despite not being able to hit the ball well. Sometimes in life, success isn't always obvious. And that realization didn't just occur just for me, it had reshaped the baseball world back in 2002. But first, picture yourself amidst this crowd. The crack of the bat echoes, the ball soars across the field, and all eyes are locked on the players, those in the spotlight. Every throw, every catch, and every hit seems effortless to the professional athletes. But behind every decision made on the field, and every brilliant moment to play, there's someone you don't see, whose decisions shaped the game long before it began. Today, I want to shift our focus away from the players and to the real brain decision makers of the team, the managers and the head coaches. Now, put yourself inside the shoes of a manager. It's the spring of the 2002 season, and you have two teams that you can take over, Team 1 and Team 2. Take a look at Team 1's top 4 players and Team 2's top 4 players and compare them. Evaluate each player based on their salary going into the season, as well as the awards they've won. Now, for a show of fans, who would rather coach Team 1? And Team 2? Well, it looks like the majority of us picked Team 1. But before I reveal who these teams were, take your attention to this graph over here. This is the outcome of the 2002 MLB season, showing the relationship between payroll and wins, with each team being depicted by a dot. In general, there's a positive correlation. As a team's payroll and value increased, so did their number of wins. Now, if you pick Team 1 as your team to coach, you'd appear on the red dot with a $126 million payroll and 103 wins, the most. It's not surprising that you guys didn't do this. It's not surprising that you guys did this well, considering you guys had tons of talent as well as loads of money to spend. However, if you pick Team 2 as your team to coach, you'd appear on the orange dot with the same amount of wins, but less than 1/3 of the payroll. Now, let that sink in. How does a team with such few financial resources manage to compete with financial giants like the Yankees? How does a team with so little superstar power somehow achieve what was deemed to be impossible? This was done through sabermetrics, or the advanced statistical modeling to evaluate baseball players. Now, prior to the 2002 season, the Athletics faced several challenges, most notably losing their best player, Jason Giambi, to the New York Yankees. Additionally, their low payroll didn't help. In a sport where money mattered, teams were willing to pay those extra bucks for the more flashier, expensive, well-known players on the market. However, Oakland didn't have that. They didn't have deep pockets, nor the greatest connections to help rebuild their team. However, they did have one thing, a willingness to rethink the game, to question every assumption about what made a baseball player valuable. The Oakland Athletics didn't chase the more popular, flashy, expensive players on the market that were known to the league and world. Instead, they used specific statistics and numbers to uncover the undervalued players that were hidden. That's why Oakland's 2002 season is so interesting to me. Just as I had to switch my mentality and how I viewed my own success as a ball player, the Oakland Athletics, at a much higher level and extent, had to redefine the success of each player in order to rebuild their team with the small amount of money that they had. Now this stemmed from two people right here. Oakland's general manager, Billy Beane, and his assistant, Paul DePodesta. Now from the movie Moneyball, you may recognize them as the famous actors Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill. Now, the rest of the MLB focused on statistics that were well known to us. Many of us maybe have heard of a hit, an RBI, a runs batted in, or a batting average, the more popular statistics. However, Billy Beane and Paul DePodesta, shifting their approach, decided to use less popular statistics like on-base percentage and slugging average. Ultimately, the two decided that the best way to evaluate the offensive value of a player was through the runs created statistic, as shown with this equation here. Now, at the time, this equation wasn't very popular. Teams were already so deeply rooted in traditional ways that they were unwilling to make the change into these new methods. On top of that, not only were they skeptical of the equation itself, but they also feared the potential consequences they would receive if using this were to fail them. That was the case for 29 teams at the time, but of course, all except one, the Oakland Athletics. Willing to take this risk and apply this equation to their team, Paul DePodesta and Billy Beane sought more opportunities to improve the accuracy of this equation. Right before the 2002 season started, they came up with this long equation that took every aspect of a hitter. Now I know it may look complicated, and it is, but in truth, this equation didn't just work. It was revolutionary. Not only did the Athletics win 103 games, but they also went on an electrifying, record-breaking 20-game win streak that let the entire world into shock. The extent to which these new methods changed the league is shown when comparing the 2002 and 2024 seasons. The first number to look at when comparing the graphs is the R-squared value. A higher R-squared value means that there's a higher correlation between the two variables that are being compared. In this case, it's payroll and wins. 2002's R-squared value is slightly larger than 2024's, meaning that there was a stronger correlation between wins and payroll in the past than there is today. Another thing to look at is the wins per million value, or the slope of these trend lines. In 2024's slope in wins per million was 4 times as less, approximately, than 2002's, meaning that an increase in wins of payroll in today's game will yield to a smaller increase in wins than in the past. The Oakland Athletics 2002 season isn't just a baseball story. It's a story about perspective. It showed us that sometimes in our lives, our biggest limitations aren't always of a lack of resources, but a failure of how we use them. Ultimately, at its core, real growth, whether in sports, school, or our life in general, comes not from sticking to what feels comfortable, but from taking a risk, trusting a gut, looking at things from multiple angles, and stepping into the unknown. So, if a small budget baseball team can challenge an entire industry by rethinking what success meant, imagine what you can do in your lives if you do the same. Thank you.